Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a beer, it's time for some Path of Exile discussion. Merry Christmas, Exiles, and it is, of course, a GGG's Christmas present to us is the Atlas Invasion event, which has been pretty silly so far. Lots and lots and lots of unique items dropping, like something like 10 to 12 a zone. I had 3 Tabula Rases by the time I cleared Act 1. This doesn't seem to be all that rare. And it's a pretty crazy event, but also one where there's a couple of things that might just catch you off guard and kill your character. So I wanted to go through the bosses that were unexpectedly dangerous. So I think most players are expecting bosses like the Eradicator to be really lethal in this, or the Synthetic Nightmare. But there's a couple of bosses that you probably just don't have much respect for, and that will wreck you. 2 of these I suspect to be bugged, and that I suspect will be fixed. Maybe they've already been fixed by the time I'm recording this video and the info on them is out of date. But there are 2 bosses that do far more damage than I think they should be doing, and those are likely to get nerfed at some point quickly. However, for the rest of them, these are just bosses that are much harder than people expect. Main reason for that is they're normally fought without map mods, and when you start fighting them with map mods, they can be really bad. Or for that matter, if you're fighting them during leveling, when your character's not completely ready, doesn't have access to avoidance of all sorts of ailments and things like that, they can be really sketchy. So let's go through them all. Firstly, Esh. Esh is probably the single most dangerous monster that you underestimate in this event. So she's an absolute wrecking ball. She's actually kind of tough in the core game as well. The thing is that normally, by the time that you fight Esh, you overpower her by so much. Either you are running the level 70 version of Esh, in which case you just absolutely slaughter her because by the time you've collected a full Breachstone, you're probably level 85 or more. Or you are running Purified Breachstones for XP or Flawless Breachstones for loot and XP, and at that point your character is incredibly powerful. But fighting Esh when your character is not incredibly powerful is somewhat different. Esh has a Flicker Strike, Esh has a Dodge or Die Shock Nova, and has high action speed, but most scarily, Esh will stun you. And those stuns can really just cascade into a stun lock and can get you killed, where you end up taking her Nova 5 times to the face. Usually 3 hits from that Nova is fatal, and so if you're right in the middle and you take all 5 hits, you are going splat. So yeah, if you're playing this, especially if you're playing this event in hardcore, seeing Esh is probably time to just panic. You need a plan. Whatever that plan is, I'll leave it up to you. It might be to log out, but yeah, you just need to say Esh is not someone that you engage lightly at all. Second boss is Tyrant. So this is Gravicius in the core storyline. This is Colonnade and Armory boss as well. And this is a boss that has a couple of things going for it that make it really scary. So firstly, it's got a very high level of energy shield, far more than normal for a boss. Now this is interesting because it causes you to feel under pressure to keep applying damage, and therefore to not dodge the boss's attacks, but to keep applying damage instead. And that can easily put you in a situation where you take risks that you wouldn't take against a boss that had, say, 130% of the life that Tyrant does, but only 30% of the energy shield this boss does. It is one of the highest energy shield bosses of any boss in the game. Now, the thing, though, that's really scary that the Tyrant does is drops his Firestorm. His Firestorm is a wrecking ball. It does a lot of damage. Whether you're fighting him in maps, it's quite dangerous there, but it's especially bad during leveling when you may not yet be in a situation where you've got capped fire resistance. So yeah, the Tyrant is one of the scarier bosses and one that you probably want to run away from in hardcore. If you're in softcore, then yeah, by all means, engage and just be willing to maybe have the odd death here or there. Next is Act 9 Shavronne, and I am confident that this boss is bugged. The damage that she does is absolutely unbelievable. It is off the charts, and it's just a case of the orbs that she fires. So she has an ability where she fires a whole stream of lightning projectiles at you. If you're encountering her in the map version or in the Act 9 version, and you get hit by one of these, it hurts a bit, but usually you can survive 7 or 8 of these hits. You do need to get out of the way of this beam, but it's kind of like Dominus's lightning spark barrage that he has. It's not something that's instantly fatal. It's not like you get hit by one and your character is stun locked and then dead to the 2nd or 3rd hit. However, during the Atlas Invasion event, at least at the start of the Atlas Invasion event, These were stunning you and locking you in place so that the next one hits you. So basically getting hit by even a single one of these projectiles is death unless it's the last one in the last or second last one in the barrage. And therefore Act 9 Shavronne is one of the very, very worst bosses in this event at the moment. This one may get patched, I'm not sure, but until that happens, until there's confirmation that that happens, I just assume that she is going to be completely and utterly unfair. Next is another boss that I think is bugged, and this is the Stone of the Currents. You will know this boss as the boss of the Wharf map. So this one has a skill that you would endure in mapping that works a bit like the player skill Orb of Storms. This stun locks and kills, and it kills faster than Shavronne's Barrage of Lightning Balls. So this one is just ridiculous. I don't think that this is working as intended, and I think that there's just something where it might be doing damage as though it's a level 68 monster when you're fighting it at level 30 or something like that. Whatever it is, this boss is doing unreasonable amounts of damage and should be avoided at all costs. Even in softcore, I would say this is something to run from and to just regard it as being like more dangerous than the endgame bosses. So more dangerous than a Synthete Nightmare, more dangerous than the Shaper, more dangerous than, say, a Phoenix. This is a boss you've just got to avoid. It doesn't have any unusual hit points or anything like that, but it's just an absolute wrecking ball with its skills. And of course, the next one is Tukohama. So this is the boss of the Siege map, who is also found in Act 6. The reason I'm putting Tukohama in here is because I died in the normal labyrinth. And the reason I died in the normal labyrinth was because Tukohama was chasing me, and I made a very big mistake. What I did was I beat Tukohama down under 50% health while running away from him. This meant that there are 4 little totems that spawn that Tukohama can't be hurt until you've killed all of those totems. But I've run multiple screens away from them. And so I've still got Tukohama following me because he's got a fairly high movement speed. And he is completely invincible. And so I've got this invincible map boss chasing me around. Now, had I played better, I probably would have gotten out of that situation. I ended up dying to a labyrinth trap, but with Tukohama pushing me into it. But that should give you a bit of a sense that this boss is much more scary than you might be expecting. And the main reason is that when you fight Tukohama in the normal game, whether it be in Act 6, whether it be in a Siege map, or whether it be in a Maven's Invitation, the time that you have to deal with all of the totems that render him invulnerable, they're all in the same arena that you're in. And therefore you can't run multiple screens away from them. You can't be chased multiple screens away from them by other monsters either. So those are the ones that I think are the most scary. I'm keen to hear what you've encountered. I certainly haven't encountered every single map boss yet, so it may be that there's like some of the synthesis monsters are particularly scary. Something else, maybe maybe Atsuri is worse than I'm expecting her to be. I haven't encountered Atsuri either. But if you've got comments or questions or your own suggestions as to monsters to avoid in this event, definitely leave them down in the description below. That said, this event has been a lot of fun so far. I've been playing it at a really relaxed pace, and I think I'm going to continue to do that, just something that's a little bit different to usual, and just sort of punching through, killing lots of monsters, having a bit of fun, but not taking it particularly seriously, sort of goofing off a bit. If you're interested to watch that, it'll be on my stream on Twitch, and description will have some information on that down below. That's all I got. May your Valobs have interesting results.